Welcome to my little video about the Eachine Aurora 90. In the northern hemisphere we're still suffering with bad weather and storm after storm, so for the time being stuff like this is what we've got to enjoy. So let's have a look. I've got the Frsky version. In the package we get a nice little glossy printed manual. It tells you pretty much how to do everything, how to set it up. There is a manual, a digital PDF manual with all the parts listings and parts numbers if you need spares. You can buy spare frames, the mini cube itself, the 20mm stack I'll get to shortly, how to configure Betaflight and all the modes, and the various binding procedures for Frsky on the Tyrannus, Flysky for the AFDS to whatever protocol they use, and Spectrum as well I believe is in here. Aux 1 is ARM and Aux 2 is acro, air mode and angle if you need that. With that, let's get to the meat of it. First things first, I think we get a little Euro adapter cable to the 8 style connector. Right. A 450 mAh ATC battery, ATC. So we're looking at 40 amps over a JST. You get a little 2S balance charger, the standard B3 Pro that you might recognise from many other bind and fly brushless quads that take a 2S Lipo. This will balance a 2S and a 3S Lipo. Got some LEDs on the front. I don't know if I'll use it, but it might be handy to get someone into the hobby dirt cheap, and of course it's included in the package, so can't complain. I will just check and see what this battery comes at. .72, so it's about 3.86 on each cell, so that's more than adequate and perfectly fine. So for the time being we'll put that aside. We get the obligatory spare Velcro with 3M backing. Nice to see 3M on there. These propellers are 50mm or 2035s I believe is the proper designation for them. They are a little bit flimsy, and from other videos I've seen of people flying this, they try to eat themselves, or the quad tries to eat them, or they try to eat the quad or anything, so I'll address this in a bit, but for now it's nice to have a spare set anyway. A small, what looks like 1.5 to 2mm sized Allen key, and a little Phillips head or posi drive screwdriver. Nice little addition. And in this we get some spare screws that are beveled on the head, or countersunk rather, or bolts, countersunk bolts. Screws are pointed. A couple of cable ties, and what looks to be some sort of double-sided foam mounting. Perhaps it's for the camera to stick it on. Right, the only other thing in the box is the unit itself. Comes in quite rigid open cell foam that might be useful for something or other. So this is the quad, the Aurora 90, 90mm from motor centre to motor centre. It is, I believe, about 120mm, 118mm square, and I think it stands about 70mm high. The dry weight, according to the specification, is 78 grams. I don't know what the battery weight would take it to, but I might get the scales out shortly. I think it has a 600 TV line Cmos camera. Well, it's a bit loose in here at the moment, but I assume that's maybe what this is for, to keep that in place. But it's quite small. You can toggle NTSC and PAL. It's 48 channels, so it'll cover race band, immersion RC, boss cam, AB, E, F, race band, you name it. Battery connection is a JST. As I mentioned, I don't know if you would get the full capacity of the Lipo discharge over this. That brings me to the innards. It has a 20mm by 20mm format stack, which comprises of a 4-in-1 ESC with 10 amps, and I think it has a burst rating of 15 amps. Next up, we have a Betaflight board, the target of which for Betaflight is an Omnibus F3. It comes with Betaflight 3.1. It's got a little buzzer on the top of the receiver stack. The receiver on this one, being Frsky, is D8 compatible. This is a single antenna for the radio, and it has a 4-lobe cloverleaf. It looks well protected from impacts and stuff. The main frame at the bottom is what looks to be a nice weave of carbon fibre, as does the duct and the rest of the frame. In fact, on the video it looked like these were just sort of maybe fiberglass or something, but it does actually look like it's all proper carbon fibre. I believe this is the bind button here for the radio. Your USB connection is down here, which is obviously very, very awkward to access without some sort of special cable or removing a duct. I think the standard practice is whip these two screws out, one here, and you can then tilt this duct out of the way, which provides access to the micro USB port. Well, looking at it sideways, the motors on here are 1104 7500 kV brushless motors that are obviously hooked up to the 10 amp 4-in-1 ESC. The ESC itself is a BL Heli S version, which is D-Shot 600 out of the box, I believe. The props, as I was alluding to earlier, they tend to eat themselves up with aggressive acro flying, and I don't know if it's where a screws works itself loose or they look, well, this is sat right on top of this support right here, just under my finger. This, a little bit of flex in here. Can you hear that? That's ever so slight force, and it's like that on every single duct. So I think these props aren't going to be on here for very long due to the fact that they are very flimsy. Let's see if I can show you. Excuse the click. Can you see how flimsy that is? They are very flimsy. I have some spares here. I bought, like anyone, you always buy spares, so I will maybe sacrifice one for you. Just move this out of the way. Look how flexible these are. Look. That is really, really flexible. That's my main concern about them, and maybe that's why people aren't getting too good a flight time on them. Maybe they're just so inefficient. They just burn the battery up by flexing too much and stuff, and causing other problems by destroying themselves. What else is there to say? The Betaflight Omnibus F3 target board has SPI connection, and the camera unusually has 4 wires. One goes back into the flight controller and it passes back to the transmitter for the Betaflight OSD. So that's a really nice feature. I'm looking forward to giving that a try. Comes with a very anemic little Velcro strap for the battery, which will just sit up under here. Might be best doing it this way round and tie it up like that to keep your wires out of the way. Might also be an idea just to put something, oh, I don't know, maybe just go around checking all these screws, and maybe a little bit of rubber or some flight controller foam just to stand off from these screws, because otherwise the Lipo is going to be sat on it and rocking about. Looking from the back, you have a bank of 4 WS2812 LEDs, RGB addressable, and they are configurable by the Betaflight suite itself. They come pre-configured with lots of different modes, showing you if it's armed. They will indicate if you're banking or yawing. The middle two will be red when armed in normal mode. The more throttle you give, I believe they will turn blue or purple, so look something like Star Wars, which is always good. What else is there to say about this for the time being? It's got anodised aluminium hardware scattered about the frame itself. It looks very, very tidy. It feels very, very rigid. One note to make: in the digital manual it says to keep this antenna well away from your 5.8 video transmitter due to interference. I wouldn't be too worried about that, to be quite honest, but they wouldn't mention it if they haven't had some issue due to it, so just bear it in mind. Maybe I'll stick it out the back or something, just keep it out the way of the props. What else do we have here? One interesting thing in the literature, the ESCs apparently support 3S. So if you were quite happy to live on the edge and so forth, you may get some mileage out of this on 3S. I know that certain 1104 motors, albeit the lower kV of 4000, will handle 3S. I don't know about these 7500 kV ones, but if it did, this would scream. With that, I think I've covered pretty much everything I'd like to cover with the unboxing, minus one little detail. Our dear friends at DYS do some 2-inch props. These are 2030 tri-blades, and they have the same T-slot mounting or T-style mounting. That would be a very, very good fit for these. They're a lot more rigid, and I think after my initial flight of testing this and just make sure it's all working, I think I may go to these. They are undoubtedly a little bit heavier, but they may prove to be so much more efficient and save a lot of hassle in the long run. You buy 10 pairs, they're dirt cheap. I'll link them in the description for you, and they come in nice purple as well, which my son loves. One thing to note with these propellers, rumour has it that one of the orientations is pretty much well balanced, but the other is very unbalanced. It's not like you're going out with a 5-inch quad and smashing props up all the time, as long as these don't eat themselves like these others do. You should only need to balance a couple of sets and you'll be set forever, really. But you can never have too many props, as the saying goes. I'll put those out of the way. Racer Star does a whole range of these 2035 props in different colours. I can't speak to the quality of them, but I would imagine that these are probably the Racer Star props as well, due to the fact that these have Racer Star or Air Sheen motors and hardware on, but they look identical. It's food for thought. The other thing I have in mind, from my Blade 150 for example, HQ do 30-30 props that might be quite suitable to cut down. Or then there's your general 30-20 props, like the paddle props. These are quite brittle, but they would be very, very efficient for such a high kV. Yeah, you cut in props down, but originally when we did 3-inch props craft, we were having to cut down props anyway, so for me it's par for the course. And it might be worth it just to try and find the right propeller. With that, I think I've come to the end of my unboxing video, so I thank you very much for watching. I will proceed to have a look at this, plug it in, give it a good bit of scrutineering, and I should make another video provided everything goes well. So with that, I would love to thank you for watching, and hope this has been a little bit of a insight for you. If you have any questions or would like me to have a look at anything, or anything I've missed, please feel free to leave a comment and I'll gladly get back to you. So thank you once again for watching. See you soon.